Hey guys, hope everybody's doing okay today. Today we're going to paint together an orange bird. Very fun, very easy to paint. You can see the colors that I'll be using today. I have green, brown, orange, black, yellow, and white. I also have an assortment of brushes, a cup of water to drop my wet paint brushes in when I'm done with those, and a plate just to put my paint on so I have easy access to it. To start with, I think I'll start with my orange. Put a little orange on my plate here. Doesn't take very much, just a little bit. And then I'm going to choose just a medium-sized brush. I'm going to dip into my orange. I'm going to load my brush. That just means I'm going to get paint on both sides of my brush like this. I'm not going to do this because then it's just going to drip. What I will do is touch both sides of my paintbrush into the paint. That's called a loaded brush. And then I'm going to just paint an orange oval like this. It doesn't have to be just perfect. We just need to get our shape in there, like so. So you go ahead and do that now. Just an orange oval shape. If you're not using paint, you can also do this with crayons or colored pencils, even markers. So there I have my orange oval. And then I'm just going to take that same orange paint, I'm going to reload my brush, and I'm just going to fill this in with orange. I'm going to completely paint that in, just like so. I'm going to try and stay inside my lines, but if I get a little outside the lines, it's okay. Can't really mess up art. I think you've heard me say that before. Sort of going in the same direction all the way around as the outside lines of my oval. You can also just paint up and down or side to side, but you do want to be kind of neat as you do this part. If I get ahead of you, you can always pause the video. Give yourself time to catch up. Sometimes I go a little faster because I've been doing this for a while. Okay, so there we go. There's my orange circle. I would also like to give my bird some tail feathers. The tail feathers are going to come from the bottom of that oval. It's going to start with a line going this way and a line going this way. Can you do those two lines? Very good. At the bottom, because they're feathers, I'm not going to have a really straight line. Just kind of do a wavy line there. Your line might be more pointed, could be more rounded. That's up to you. And then I'm going to fill that in with orange, just like I did this shape for his body. I'm using acrylic paints, and they do dry very quickly. If yours don't dry fast enough, you can always use a hair dryer. Grab mom's hair dryer, blow on it for just a few minutes, and that paint will dry very, very fast. Okay, there we go. So there's his body and his tail. I'd like for his belly to be more yellow. I'm not going to change brushes. I'm not even going to wash this one out. I am going to use my yellow paint. I'm going to put a little on my plate. A little of this paint goes a long ways. I'm not using very much. I'm going to dip in. I'm going to load my brush with yellow. Remember, it's still got a little orange on there. That's okay. And I'm going to do just a U shape. So right in the middle of his body there. Still see some orange showing through, that's fine. At the top, I'm gonna do a little wavy line there. Not sure if you can see how wavy that is. Your paint doesn't have to be terribly thick because we do want to be able to see that orange coming through. I'm gonna get a little more paint on my brush and I'll fill that shape in with yellow. If your orange is still wet and it blends together, that's okay. You'll be able to see that there's a little yellow in the center of his body. I think I might make my yellow a little wider, just like so. If you want your yellow to be a little darker, you can always come back, just like I'm going to do, and add another coat. If your paper gets really wet with paint, sometimes it will crinkle up a little. Don't worry, when it dries, the paper should flatten right back out. You can even use a canvas for this. A piece of wood, whatever you happen to have handy. That's what I like to paint on. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to use yellow again. And right up here in the top part of that orange oval shape, I'm going to do 2 circles in yellow, just like that. And I'm going to fill those in with yellow. I'm just going to bring that paint right into the middle of those circles, just like that. Okay. And on top of his head, because this is going to be his head here, I'm going to use a little yellow paint. And I'm going to paint some hair or feathers, just like this. Just coming right out of the top of his head. Now I'm going to paint some little short ones here. So the ones on the very top, make those a little longer. Add a little more in there. The ones on the top are a little longer than the ones on the side that are kind of flaring out, right? Well, I've still got that yellow in my brush. I'm gonna wipe that off just a little bit, just so there's not a big clump of yellow in there. And I'm gonna dip back into my orange. And with that orange, I'm gonna go right on top of that yellow. And I'm gonna make some yellow hair. Feathers. I guess birds have feathers, don't they? Not hair. It's starting to look funny, right? Smooth that out right along the top. There we go. And next, I'm going to use brown. Again, I'm not going to wash my brush yet. Just dip a little brown. Let's pour some brown onto our plate. Doesn't take very much. Look how much paint I've still got left for my yellow and orange. It takes very little. With that brown paint, and I am going to wipe a little of the yellow and orange off again. Dip into my brown. I'll load my brush. Remember what I said. Mash it in and get a little brown paint on both sides of your brush. The branch is going to come in front of the tail and right below his body. So I'm going to let it start way over here. I'm going to go across. And cross right there in front of where his body and his tail connect together. Then I'm going to curve up and run off of my page. That's the top of our branch. The bottom of our branch is really going to be skinny on the left side and really wide over here. So I'm going to start right there in the same place. I'm going to get a little more space between the two lines as we go across. Again, it's going to cross over his tail. And then my line is going to curve down. Because branches on a tree are usually a little larger as they connect to the tree. Then I'm just going to fill this area in between the two lines in with my brown paint. I'm going to try and let most of my paint strokes go from left to right or right to left. Just paint right over his tail there. And you can see how skinny and pointed the end of that branch is. If you're able to see too much orange shining through where his tail is, you can always come back and add a little more brown on top. There we go. Okay. I'm going to put just one little skinny leaf, one little leaf on the end of my branch. So again, I'm going to wipe my brush off. I'm not washing it out yet. Wipe that brush off a little bit. I'm going to get some green. Shake it up just a little bit to make sure it's all mixed up good in there. Just a tiny drop of green is all I need. Can you see how little green I've used? Very little. And load my brush again. And on the very end of this branch, I'm going to do one little leaf. Watch how I do a leaf. I'm going to start here, and I go out, curve down, and let it kick out just a tiny bit on the very end. Coming back to where I started, and I'm going to curve the other way. Watch. It's going to go down, and then it's going to come up, and they're going to meet at the tip. It's more like a teardrop. I bet you know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to fill that in with green. Just like so. You do want to stay inside your lines while you do this leaf. And we want to make sure it connects to our branch. And then I'm going to dip just a tiny bit of brown on my brush. I didn't load my brush, just a little on the very end. And right in the center of that leaf, I'm going to do a little brown line right down the middle, and then some little short lines going out to show the veins in my leaf. Now I'm going to swap brushes. I'm going to drop that brush into my water, and the next color I'm going to get is black. I think I'll use black this time. I'm going to shake my black up. We don't need much. Just a little. I probably got a little too much there. Get a new brush. Maybe a smaller brush for this part. So this time I'm using a brush that's about that big. I'm going to dip into my black. Remember where we made those two yellow circles? The black circles are going to go right on top of those, okay? Not quite as big as the yellow ones were, but still pretty big. There's one. There's still some yellow showing around the outside edges. There's two. If your circles are not exactly the same, that's okay. We want our bird to look a little comical, and so sometimes this two eyes being a little different are okay. Okay. I'm going to fill those circles in with black, just like so. There's one. Let's do the other one as well. Looks like that. And then some white. Very, very small amount of white. Takes very, very little white. I am going to wipe my brush off. I want to get most of that black out. So I'm just going to paint the edges of my plate until I don't see a lot of white paint coming out. I'm going to dip just the tip of my brush into my white, just like that. On the inside of the black, near the bottom, I'm going to do a little U. There's one. There's the other. And then I'm going to put a white dot. If you want your bird to be looking that way, then you're going to put the dot on this side. If you want the bird to look that way, you're going to put your dots here. Watch what happens. There's one. There's the other. And it looks like he's looking that direction, right? Okay. And again, I'm going to wipe my brush off a little bit and keep using the same brush. This time I'm going to take a scoop of my brown paint that's on my plate, just like so. And I'm going to mix that in with a scoop of yellow, and I'm going to stir them around a little bit. So I have a sort of a light yellowish brown color. And this is what I'm going to do for his beak. Okay? His beak is going to be right between his eyes. Just comes straight down. It's just a V there. Comes right down to a V. I'm going to do a straight line across, connecting those two eyes together, and then I'm going to fill that in. Looks like that. Looks a little like mud, so I think I'm going to add a little orange on top of that. So I'm going to get it in. Didn't wash my brush out. I just dipped into some orange. I'll paint a little orange right on top of that. Maybe not going all the way to the edges, so we can still see that it's a beak there, since his body is orange as well. There we go. And now we're going to make a few more feathers. Do you remember how we made feathers last time? Remember, first we put yellow and then a little orange on top. So I think I'm going to swap and get a clean brush for this. Let's see, I think this brush should do fine. It's the same size as that very first brush that we used. First I'm going to dip into my yellow and load my brush. I'm going to let these feathers come off the top part of his body like this. And they're all sort of aimed downward. Do that on both sides of his body. Okay, there we go. Who can guess what's next? I bet you guessed that we were going to put some orange right on top of these feathers, just like we did the first feathers that we made on top of his head. And you're right. So I'm going to come right on top of those yellow, make some little orange feathers coming down. Keep your brush loaded. You can always go back for more paint if you run out of paint in your brush. And there you go. Your bird's all done. What do you think, guys? I can't wait to see yours. Good luck painting. Again, you can use oil pastels, crayons, markers. You could even use watercolors for this. Good luck painting. It's been fun being with you today. Bye.